going to start today by showing you what I did this afternoon. So I have these little flowers that were brought to me by a neighbor, well, students actually, and so I did a little alla prima of the flowers.
Those are beautiful.
Yeah, it came out good. And I did a little fast movie. Once it's in my cloud, I will share the movie with you, but it's not there yet. All right. Last week we did the egg.
Yep.
And the reason we did the egg is because an egg is the same shape as the body of a bird. So see, if you just look at the body without the head and without the tail, it's like an egg. So that's why I had you do the egg last week. But also last week we did this exercise from green to red, going through all of the different colors that we can get by mixing the two. So I think we went from red to green actually. So starting here with the red and then going this way, adding just a little green, a little more green, a little more green. And then here there's a lot of green and just a little red and then green. So what I did is I did another version of the same thing. This time I made it more watery. And I did a movie of it, a small little movie that I'd like to share with you, because from the homework that I received, this is something that it's a good idea to go over this. And we will be going over similar exercises with other colors. So I thought I would share that with you again. Now I'm going to share my screen to do this. Now you should be seeing my Liquitex bottle here in the background and my camera. Okay, so it's a very simple demonstration. You can't see my palette, but you'll see that see I start with the red. This is alizarin crimson and it's very watery.
Claire, did you make it watery by adding that bottle to the right?
Yeah, I added a lot of water and a little bit of this bottle. This bottle is called Gloss Medium and Varnish. And I'll show you the bottle after this demonstration is done. So now I'm washing my brush very carefully. I have already pre-mixed my green by mixing together the primary yellow and ultramarine blue. And I'm going to add this green starting on this side and going into the red. And I keep making it very watery and going into the red. I think this demonstration might help some of you to understand a little bit more. Last week maybe it was a little convoluted, but anyway, this little video I'll be sharing with the recording of the class. So if you want to watch it again, we'll be doing something similar with other complementary colors and also harmonious color. Voila. Okay, well, it just goes on and on. But basically, that's what this is. Any questions on this? Okay. So this bird here is one that I did with my watercolors. So that's one way to do the bird. But I also have an example of the bird done with acrylics. And there's the little ones here that are waiting to get fed. So like I said earlier, this here is like the shape of an egg. So if you're going to do a bird similar to mine, you can just start by an egg shape, and then you add the head and the tail, and then after that the rest. What I would like to do is do a demonstration of this, but before I do this, I'd like to know, in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to turn my camera towards my canvas, and you're going to be able to see both this example and my canvas, and you'll see how I start. All right, so alizarin crimson, and then primary yellow, and ultramarine blue are the colors that I'm going to use. And I might use a little white, and that's titanium white. So before I start painting, I will mix the yellow, the green. So just so you can see how I make the green. So I use a lot of yellow with a little green, or with a little blue. Gives me a nice green. This is a little bit of medium. So someone asked me the question about this. So it's gloss, medium, and varnish is what I use. So this one is Liquitex, but other brands also do this. And this one is glossy. There's matte varnish. There's also medium and varnish that is even shinier than glossy. I use this sometimes, not always. When I paint my own painting, I rarely use it, but I use this with some water, because when you paint with a glaze, that means it means that it's painting with a very thin layer. And when you paint with a glaze, what happens is, if you don't use the medium and you try and paint on top of a first layer, then the first layer will lift. But if you put medium and it's dry when you paint on top, it will never lift. So there. So now I'm putting a little medium. My red, a little water. If you don't have a push bottle, call it, this is a very technical term, a spray bottle, I should say. You can always add some with your brush, like this. You can dip it into your water and put some water on it, like this. So now I have my green and I have my red, and I'm ready to do my bird. So I'm taking a fairly big brush. See, it's almost as thick as my finger. And I'm going to start with the bird. The bird, I'm going to start doing the bird very watery. See how it's very, very watery. And called painting with a glaze. I'm going to start the bird by doing the egg shape. Very watery. The other advantage of starting with a glaze, a light glaze, is that it's easier to make a change if I don't like what I did. If I start very, very dark with very thick paint, then when it's time, if I want to make any change, then I absolutely need to use white. But right now I'm just going to go like this. So this is my egg. That's the initial shape. And now I'm going to add the head of the bird over here. And the tail. Keep being very watery. And the tail. The tail is usually almost straight from the back of the bird. There. So now I have my bird. And I'm going to add a background. So to add my background, I'm going to completely clean my brush and adding some water to my green, like this, very watery. This is very thick, but this is very watery. I'm going to do my whole background. Whole background. So, oops. With my green. The other advantage of painting very watery, you can cover a large section very quickly with a glaze. So as you can see, I did not do any kind of drawing because it's such a simple shape. And when it's time to add the tree, I will also, it's also fairly simple in terms of shape. So I won't need to do a drawing first. So there's no beak yet. Just doing the background. Now in this section of the background, instead of just doing the green, I'm going to add a little red to my green. So it's going to give me a little bit of a darker shade in this area. All right. So I'm going to show you a little closer. I like those drips. So right now we have the shape of the bird and we have the background. And if we want to adjust the shape of our bird right now, it's fairly easy. I'm going to completely clean my brush. Take a little bit of this nice green, nice red, sorry. See, I find that the back here could be a little more round. So I can do that right now. Maybe I want a poofier tail, make it a little bigger. There. I'm not trying to make darks or light. I'm just trying to make an overall shape of this bird. Now that I have the bird and I have the background, I'm going to add my tree. As I realized that I left all my other brushes over there on the table. That's okay, I have a few here. So to add the tree, I want to make a nice brown. And to make the nice brown, I'm going to mix the red and the green. So to start with, I'm going to mix the red and the green, and I'm not going to make it extremely watery, but I'm going to put some of this nice red over here and some of this nice green. Mix it up together. It's giving me a nice rich brown. You can see. I'm going to put my tree over here. So So see, it's still fairly transparent. The colors that we are using are all transparent color, so that's why they're not super opaque. And they have a little branch that goes like this. This goes down here.
We can't see what you're doing, Claire.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for telling me. I was doing the tree.
Okay.
So I did the tree. Now, one thing that's very important is when a tree goes behind an object, like here, it goes behind the bird. And actually, if it continues straight, it should be like this. So my line, the line that I have for this tree is incorrect. So it's important to adjust it. So it's more like, now this line goes like this. This is better. So I adjusted it with my green. There. So now I'm going to put the branch on which my bird is going to be, but I also need to put the bird's legs. To make the color for the bird's leg, it's the same color as for the tree. It's a nice brown. And the legs are like this. First they go one way, then they go the other way. The other one goes like this. And goes like this. So the legs look funny right now. I think that actually they're a little too funny. And what I'm going to do now is, see, one thing that's great with this glaze is you can erase what you just did and start again. I'm going to start again. I didn't like the angle that it was. Try again. So I think it's a little bit more to the back, like so, and then like this. Yeah, this is better. And then the other leg here. Actually, it actually goes like this. There. It's not a great success, but eventually I will get it. And the legs, they wrap around the tree on which they land. So let's put this branch so that the bird is actually not holding in the air. It's got to be a sturdy enough branch to hold the bird and the nest and everything. We can put another little branch here if we want to. And then another branch here. There. So this is the first layer. Then we're going to build on that if we like this. Otherwise, we can change it before we build on it. I think it's just a little triangle, basically. I mean, I'm not a bird expert, so I couldn't tell you what type of bird this is.
It's all red, makes me think it's a cardinal.
Right. Yeah, me too. So the first layer is very, very watery. And at this time, if I want to change anything, I can very easily change anything. Now, is there any question from anyone maybe on what you're doing on your end? All right, so to answer the question, how do we make a dark brown?
Yep.
So this first layer it had a lot of water and medium in this paint. Now, one thing that I can do, I'm going to show my palette again. So I can use a very big amount of green, see?
Yep.
So I'm going to put that here, and I'm going to use a big amount of red, see?
Yep.
And I'm going to mix it with the green.
Ah, more red.
Yeah, maybe I need a little
Maybe it
bit
started with way too much red.
a little bit more green. So now,
Oh,
oops,
Dark at all.
this beautiful brown, dark brown.
And
And
this is-
when I put it on my canvas, I gotta show you my canvas to do that. Now it's gonna be
oh, yeah.
dark brown. And I don't necessarily want to cover the whole thing because maybe there's some light that comes from one side.
Yep.
And down here, I also want to put some darker brown. So I can go like this. I should put my bird back on display over here. So this is a good way to make very dark brown. And this brown is very warm because it comes from a mix of the green and the red.
Yeah.
So here, see my tree here is this
Yeah.
wide, and then it doesn't come as wide down here. It needs to be, so I need to widen it a little bit. There, this is better. All right.
Thank you.
I can also make my beak a little darker.
Use some of the black.
There. Now, I think we are at a point where we need to build a color. And I can continue doing this demonstration, but please do paint during the class. I mean, you don't have to, but if you feel like painting, that's what this class is all about. So you don't have to watch the whole time. I'll send you the recording if you want to watch the demonstration again. I'm going to change brushes. And I haven't put the nest yet, but I think I want to build that background a little bit more before I put the nest in. So my bird has got to be darker. So now I'm going to paint with more of thickness on my bird. Build it. In the areas though where it's darker, meaning like the underbelly, where it's in the shade or in the shadow, I'm going to add some green to my red. And even though I'm painting a little thicker, I'm still adding the paint and glazes. So right now it's still only red that I'm painting with. And I take a little bit of this nice yellow and add it a little bit up here on top.
Yes, just cut it in half.
And now I did one layer on the bird, so I'm gonna let this dry. And while it's drying, I'm gonna build my background. So as I'm doing the background, I can add a little bit of yellow to my green. There. I'm still painting with glazes. Now the colors that I'm using now are different from the colors in the example, because I think I used a little bit of white in the colors in the example, and I'm not using white yet in my green. Just adding a little yellow from time to time to make it very bright. Nice bright background. So making sure that I'm painting all the way to the tree and even a little bit on the tree. I don't want to leave a white space between my background and my tree. And back here, I'm going to make all of this nice deep green. I can also add a little teeny bit of red in my green to make it even darker. And I'm just painting on top of the branch because it's just a brown anyway. There. It's nice. Continuing, I'm not putting too much water. I'm building the color. And here, I'm going to add some yellow to the mix. Have more of a lime green than just green. Down here, I think what I did is we're going to add a little bit more of the red to get a little bit more of a darker color in our green down here at the bottom. You can just go over the branches. You will still show through anyway. And over the legs. It's just easier to paint that way. And it's all the same colors anyway. And now as I'm out of colors, I have to make some more. So I built up the background color and I built up my bird color, but I think I need to define those legs a little bit better. So I'm gonna take a better brush for this. So I'm gonna use my filbert. I mean, it's an old brush, but it kind of does a lot of things. And I like that it's kind of pointy a little bit and it's got some body to it. So I'm gonna mix my green and red into a nice deep dark color. And I'm not gonna paint too watery. Gonna kind of keep it nice dark color. Oops. And then for the legs, I mean the fingers, I'm just gonna wrap them like this, thinking, okay, 2 fingers for each leg. And then maybe there's one that goes the other way, but it's kind of behind. All right. Let's see. I think now is the time to start shaping my bird. So I have some nice mixed of the red and the green. It needs more red than green to do this. But with this, I can come down here and put a little bit of shadowy color on my bird. But I'm not going to paint the whole bird with this color. Just this bottom part. Now I'm even changing my brush. And now I'm going to use the red without any mix. And I continue with my red, like so. It's a little bit like when we built the egg. Same shape. And the tail. I'm going to take a little white because I want to go over that thing there. See, immediately when I add white, it goes pasty. So you want to try and avoid that if you can. I'm going to put some more of this nice red here. And I'm add a little yellow to it. Oops. Oh. So adding a little yellow to it. To keep the light on the back. Bird. It gets very interesting in color. I think it's time we start adding the nest. Take that brush again, the one that I had a nice mix of red and green. And put more green than red to have a nice deep color. Then the nest is something that's created of twigs of all sorts. So it cannot be a sharp edge on the outside, because just those twigs, and so I'm just painting it like this, trying to make sure that I'm not creating too much of a sharp edge. Oh, it's too green, so I'm adding some red to it. It's just it's always a funny shade. There, I think that's a good nest. And the little ones are very, they're very loosey-goosey. So what I did there is I went with some of my red, and I put it there, and I realized, well, this is too dark. So I added a teeny little bit of white to my red. And then I got a color that's a little lighter. Oh, not quite enough red. Not quite enough white. Okay, there we go. So this is how I added those little ones. I don't even know how many there are, but this is where they are. Removing all of this color and taking the color from the nest again and just adding it here. The little ones are inside, they're not outside. There. And adding the beaks, or what do you call the mouth of the bird? This is the beak?
Beak, yes.
Okay, thank you. So to add the beak, I just use my deep brown again. So mix of green and red. And the beaks, they're usually open when they're waiting for food. Oops. I think I did a boo-boo. So if you did like me and you made it too big, what you can do is you wipe your brush on the paper towel, and then you can go here like this and just remove just a tiny little bit. So now that makes it a little bit better, although it still looks a little funny. Maybe this bird is a little deformed. But anyway, so now we are building our bird, and we get to this point now. This is not finished yet, but we've made a good progress. So does anyone have any questions?